No, I will not bow down to your demands of Masters music by the end of this thing. Of course, in classic Trey Dyson fashion, he comes in wearing shades, recording people video-wise, and then making demands. It's not how we're going to do it. At least you guys did hug it out, you and Bryon. That's good.
Did you hear what John's mom had to say about you?
No. What did John's mom have
the
to say
same
about
thing
me?
my mom had to say about me.
About you
and
me?
my daughter.
Uh-huh.
Okay. Daddy, did they like you?
They don't understand my tough love?
They don't get it. They don't get it.
Wait, what?
You know how Tim can come across as a bully from time to time?
I've noticed.
Yeah, so apparently,
and quite frankly, there's somebody in the other room who's just as much a bully. Do you know what it's like to work with them each and every day?
Yeah, well,
like I said, it's punishment for stealing a bunch of Don Russ cards a long time ago.
I heard that.
He's our new favorite player on the show.
Like Don Russ. No, Don Russ.
Oh, Don Russ. I've gotten so
thought,
many text messages this morning. Like, you're a moron.
In my head, I was like,
just today or overall?
Don Baylor, Don Mattingly, Don Russ. Did I miss it?
Oh, goodness.
Welcome in, Gamecock baseball greats Bryon, Jeffcoat, Trey Dyson, bringing plenty of victimizing into the program, apparently. I noticed that Bryon didn't come in complaining at all. He came in like a professional, was early, on time. He brings coffee. You guys doing the worst high fives of all time over there.
Brutal.
Let's start with what we saw on the baseball field, 9-0, most recent, and then we'll work our way back to the tremendous SEC series that was. But 9-0, one hit shutout last night. College of Charleston and Chad Holbrook get the win. Your reactions?
That's a tough one. I mean, this is again I guess that we keep coming back to what this team is, and unfortunately, last night is one of those moments where you're like, I don't know who showed up and what happened because of. I mean, I was so excited, and I've been probably hitting Twitter harder than I ever have with, promoting these guys from what we've seen. And so one way, and we've come in here before after a big victory or after a defeat like this, and we've blown it up, right? And I think you got to be careful to do that, as always. But, as the fans and as, people who look at, are on the outside, we do this, right?
Sure.
Kingston, and he said this earlier this week, you can't do this. You just look at it, and as Bill's been saying, it's another game. We lost. Let's reflect. What did we do wrong? Where were we? Let's go get let's go get Missouri. Mm-hmm. And so that's but, we're going to sit here and we're going to go through some things I feel that are that probably got to the game to where it was last night. We sit there. I went to the game, and, man, it was a beautiful park. That's the environment. Everybody's filled in pretty quickly, and then it didn't take long after you sat down after the second pitch in. It's like, oh, they're up 1-0. The kid, he puts a good swing on it, and
Hart.
Oh man,
only had one home run in the season. Majinski hadn't given up a home run, and yet leadoff home run was a really good sign that things were not going to go as planned in the ballgame.
In fact, Drew Meyer, he was there as well, and he texted me. He said, "We got him right where we want him." And I said, "Yeah, just ask Ole Miss." And then they proceeded to put it on us, And so that was a butt whooping last night. And some of the things in the game I felt were, we'll talk about, I'm sure, but that was my take.
Is it? Bryon, is it as simple? Because Trey's busy, so let's just
focus
on you.
We're going to have another one of those.
I'm ready. I know exactly.
Trey's busy.
Penalty
turn
box.
that phone off.
Is it as simple as it's baseball? You guys played it. Like I know you've listened a little bit this morning, and I've said we don't say that when South Carolina loses to Illinois State in basketball at the beginning of the year, when South Carolina loses to Citadel in football, even in a 3-9 season. I feel like it's a different conversation in baseball. Maybe it's because you play 56 games. Maybe it's because there just seems to be more parity. But I feel like when something like this happens, it's just that's baseball.
Yeah.
I mean, it's just it was a bad night, and you move on. Am I right in that?
Well, I think yes, and then I think Tim's searching for answers, like why?
An explanation.
I got it completely.
Oh, here we go.
No, this is true. Okay, so this team is good when they're the underdog. Clearly, okay, they've got nothing to lose on the weekend, and they play like it. And then they don't know how to dominate people when they're the favorite. And that's something that Coach Tanner's teams were so good of. Taking that pride, knowing that you're the best, knowing that you're going to dominate people, and be embarrassed if you were to lose a game like last night. This team, they don't quite have that yet, but like Coach Kingston said after the game, it's kind of like, hey, we've been here before. We've been punched. We know how to punch back. But here's why Coach Holbrook won last night, in my opinion. And I was looking at this the other night. Coach Holbrook, to me, remember, I was at every single game. I saw every single thing he did. And Coach Holbrook coached, to me, like he was as a different person when he was at South Carolina. He put too much pressure on himself, thinking that he had to be Joe Madden or had to be Coach Tanner. Whenever you don't have to be. Baseball is all about pressure and applying pressure, knowing how to handle the pressure. And that's why I think that we play much better as an underdog than we do as a favorite. And here's the biggest takeaway for me, and I was looking at it the other night. Coach Holbrook, what did he do when he was a player? He was a runner, a bunter, a guy who got on base.
Scrappy, second base.
A guy who applied pressure.
Mm-hmm.
At Carolina, he applied no pressure. He was the king of the sacrifice bunt that never worked.
Well, last night I think I saw a baseball team that played like Chad Holbrook said his South Carolina teams were going to play.
Yeah.
It was just
exactly.
College of Charleston.
And so this is my whole point. He's at College of Charleston. He's learned from South Carolina. This is not what to do. You can't play scared. You can't play not to make a mistake. You can't play not going for it on fourth down. You got to go for it. And College of Charleston, they've attempted 102 stolen bases this season, okay? And this tells me from a coaching standpoint, this is what I look for to tell me what kind of coach the guy. I look at certain things. Stolen base attempts is one of them. 102 stolen base attempts. Last year, the entire year for South Carolina, 59 stolen base attempts. You should have 100 stolen base attempts in non-conference games alone if you're a South Carolina. And that was his whole tenure at South Carolina.
How many bases did you steal at South Carolina?
Me? I don't know. Not many.
7, right?
You had
seven. There's 7 pass balls, and that counts.
He had some?
I could.
I'm shocked.
Yeah.
Because he understood when to go.
Right.
And
when the ball got to the backstop.
No,
not
man.
a stolen base.
He was actually, Trey, he was faster than you would think he was.
Okay.
And you can't look at him today and say, hey, this is the guy that – no, this guy was a stud.
Okay. I stole 3 stolen bases in the alumni game 2 years ago. I swear to you, at 300 pounds, it's about the jump and having a good awareness.
Wait, can we go back and pull that audio clip? I stole 3 stolen bases,
and it's about the jump.
To me, what happens is the bases were there, and he literally stole them after the game.
Y'all laugh. That's funny. But there's some kid out there right now being like, man, I want to go learn from this Trey Dyson guy. And trust me, kid, you do.
It's Bill.
It's Gamecock Larry.
No, it's Boudreaux.
Who had a birthday yesterday. Happy birthday, Boudreaux. And the fact that he is very similar to your birthday, I think, very interesting.
By the way, we had a great show last week.
We did. I wasn't here.
Yeah. I mean, I still got my
cupcakes and party hats, yeah.
A little awkward with Bill's birthday. If you haven't seen that video, check it out
on the YouTube. We got the 107.5 The Game page up and rolling there. 803-404-6100. If you'd like to get in on the conversation about Gamecock baseball right now, Love Chevrolet phone lines up and rolling. Would like to get your guys' take on the poll question. Bryon was in there defending it off the air with Claudia, the Frank's Discount Tire poll question this morning in honor of the complete unpredictability, I think, of Gamecock baseball this year, exemplified best maybe by last night and then the weekend before. What's more unpredictable than baseball? Right now, 54% of you going with women, 22% of you going with words out of Bill's mouth, 18% of you going with weather, and 6% of you going with stock market. I think if we had Trey Dyson as an option there, you would get at least 98% of the vote. Trey, Bryon, what are you going to go with?
That was mine. I was sitting here going, Trey's got to be in there.
It's a good write-in vote.
Yep. I didn't listen to what you just said, but
perfect.
I do have to give the kids credit in the last segment for identifying that there's actually a difference between male and female, which is pretty good for kids nowadays.
Oh, Trey Dyson, ladies and gentlemen, there he is. At Trey Dyson, send your complaints right to him on Twitter if you want to. Chad Holbrook's thoughts after last night's 9-0 College of Charleston win against his former team, the Gamecocks.
Yeah, it was obviously a very enjoyable win for our team and our players. They played awfully hard. They had a lot of emotion tonight. and I couldn't be happier for them. They laid it on the line. They played hard. They played a complete game. And we've shown flashes of being able to do that from time to time this year. And tonight was about as good as we can play. And obviously it was a big win for our team. And, I love a lot of those kids over there. And, there's a lot of them that mean the absolute world to me. So it was a very difficult day for me. But at the same time, I couldn't be happier for my team.
Again, Chad Holbrook last night, that audio courtesy of WCIV television down in Charleston, 9-0. I understand the midweek games have been a struggle, and that was the 6th in-state school to beat Carolina this year, something that also happened under Chad Holbrook just a couple of years ago in 2015. Not unprecedented. The one-hit shutout, though, is pretty close. I know the Arkansas did it in 7 innings a couple of weeks ago, but we're looking back for 9-inning, one-hit shutout losses. It didn't happen. Going back to you guys.
Yeah.
That's what our intern Patrick has worked up this morning. I mean, he went back through 1997 through all the box scores. Hadn't happened. The Gamecocks got one hit back in 2012, but it was an Adam Matthews home run, and they actually won the game against Alabama. So is this cause for concern for you guys, or does it just show you how much of an effect Chad Holbrook may have had on his former players, or do you chalk it up to Evan Sisk being that good for the College of Charleston?
A little bit of everything is my is my thought. And so I look at it last night. Their pitcher, their starter, is has had some good games this year against a lot of great teams.
He's a Friday night guy. If you didn't realize, College of Charleston doesn't have a game this weekend.
That's right. But Kingston said, we beat Friday night guys in the SEC, right? So it was the type of pitcher he was that affected a lot of our hitters. And we talk about this all the time. He's had some deception. He's got a funky little windup.
Well, he reminded me a lot of Michael Roth.
Yeah.
You guys get that?
I did.
Lefty coming from the side, three-quarters, and doing a little untraditional for sure.
So
and intense, by the way.
We're seeing more of this today of 95-mile-an-hour fastballs. Guys are getting used to that velocity. I mean, Trey and I didn't face that as day in, day out as they face it more now.
Well, that's what Carolina's pitcher was last night,
exactly.
Right? Carvin Majinski, that freshman who just blazes it up there, has some control issues, clearly.
And so, all right, so we got the pitching perspective, what was going on. So that's going to, bring some issues with our hitting. We had a little funky lineup. It always brings some variables that are like.
How about Justin Rowe last night hitting cleanup?
Yeah.
So that was the 9th different spot he's hitting the lineup. He's hitting all 9 spots, I think, which is – have you guys ever played on a team with that's happened? Isn't that, to me, that's pretty wild. One guy hits in all 9 spots in the same season.
Yeah, I mean,
no, things were way more traditional back then. Nowadays, the order, like for example, Bryce Harper, leadoff now for the Washington Nationals. Mm-hmm. He's gone on a tear.
Right, Barry Bonds, I guess might have hit leadoff early on in his career, but once he got to supersize Barry Bonds, he never moved back to that spot.
Hey, real quick, let me give you a stat line here. 7 2/3 innings, 4 hits, 2 runs, given up 1 walk, 10 strikeouts, 29 batters faced, 111 pitches. That's pretty strong, right?
That's solid, really solid.
Evan Sisk versus Georgia.
Mm-hmm.
Like the guy I go back and we can talk about the parity in baseball. We've talked a little bit about this. I think you two have, with the way the scholarships are broken down, not all the best players go to South Carolina or Clemson or wherever it may be because of how you can get scholarship money. And, you look at this, I have zero clue if Evan Sisk is a guy that's highly thought of on draft radars.
I can tell you right now he's not going to be, just from a velocity standpoint. He only hit 85 last night.
What did okay, all right, that's what you're saying.
That's how they do it.
Okay, I'm with you. You go back to that. That was back on March the 2nd. And again, let me read you this. This is his stat line. This is Evan Sisk, the young man who threw last night against Georgia. And Georgia's really good this year. Going to go to the NCAA tournament. 7 2/3 innings, 4 hits allowed, 2 runs given up, 10 strikeouts, 1 walk, 29 batters faced. He threw 111 pitches. It's pretty good. It's what I go.
But here's the other
what
thing.
I go back to, man. And correct me if I'm wrong. It's baseball. I mean, what happened last night was baseball, in my opinion.
But Ole Miss's number 1 starter is really good, and LSU's number 1 starter is really good, and Vanderbilt's number 1 starter.
You have to counter with baseball, Bill. To your point.
I mean,
what do you mean, Trey? I don't understand.
Yeah.
Okay, he's like, hey, it's baseball. This guy's good. Well, you should look at his stat line against Kansas State as well. I mean, this guy's been phenomenal, but you got to know that going into the game. And for South Carolina, it's one of those games where right when I saw that kid throw the first pitch, I texted one of my kids from Blythewood this year. His name's John Lanier. He's a very good athlete, but he's an Iron Mike with no changeup. He's got a changeup, but he's throwing 80 miles an hour. And I've been trying to talk to him the whole year about being deceptive, being different, being funky, being weird, changing your arm angle, your delivery, your hold times. I love this kid, this Sisk kid. The first time I saw him do that weird little awkward Alex Wood type delivery. And you've got to be able to do that if you're not throwing 90 miles an hour or 95.
Real quick, Evan Sisk against Kansas State. I have no idea how good Kansas. I know at the time of this game, Kansas State lost the game 8-0 to College of Charleston. They were 10-7, so I have no idea how good Kansas State is now. But Evan Sisk against Kansas State, 9 innings, 5 hits, 4 strikeouts, 2 walks, no runs given up through 106 pitches.
Mm-hmm. Yes,
and no one's arguing that he's not good.
No, right, exactly. I think what we're trying to do is say, in your point of, it's just baseball, but why, right?
Okay.
So give me the facts. So we got a pitching situation that's a little bit different than we're used to pitching. The guy's he's a good pitcher. The emotion behind that game, unfortunately, I think it took advantage. And where our guys were saying earlier before the game, it's just another game. No, not really. Unfortunately, this game brings some emotions because you're a guy who recruited you, your head coach, former head coach is on the other side. So it brought some emotion. And then you see games still in hand. I mean, it's 2-0, but I do believe this is the game. As many of these games right now are, as you getting on the board early sets the stage. Because here's what I also noticed last night, and I'm not making excuses for why we didn't hit, but the strike zone was horrendous.
And where were you sitting?
I was behind it, so I
see
saw everything.
You were a big reason why we lost last night.
I know.
I called you out on that. From the very beginning, I knew he wasn't in it. He's up there in the suite with his friends.
Heckle. He didn't tell the umpire, hey, umpire, Sisk has a dip in his mouth.
Exactly. You got to stop that and nip that in the bud quick.
It's a good point. Yeah. You weren't there last night?
No, I wasn't.
Oh,
well,
now how
you're
do we
not taking any accountability?
Well, I mean, I'm sorry. I'm not a business owner like my buddy over here. I can't just stop on the – I'm helping kids in the area, volunteering. He's up in a suite.
Santa Claus of May over here.
Yucking it up. And I'm like, Bryon, we need you right now. This is not going well. He's like, man, I'm having a great time. I'm like, no, change something now.
Can you explain to what you were asking me to do?
Yeah, what I would have done.
Okay,
which is,
so let's walk through that, and then everybody could go, I'm with Bryon on that
right.
one.
This may be a reason why Trey doesn't go to games.
No. Listen, you need me on that wall. You want me on that wall, and I will prove that by the end of the year.
No, please explain, Bryon. At least you can do it from your perspective, or I'd like to hear Trey's explanation and then the actual.
Wait, if he does it, can we keep our show? Like, do we have to?
It's not that bad.
Okay.
It's funny, but...
What were you wanting him to do?
Well, I was like, Bryon, go do something. We're losing. The pitcher's got to dip in, or Coach Holbrook's got to dip in. Anything. Coach Tobin. Look, something we haven't talked about. Coach Tobin is a big reason why Coach Holbrook, in my opinion, is as loose as he is this year. But there was just a certain camera angle that was not being taken advantage of by fans last night. And it was out in the outfield whenever a runner was on second base out there on the knoll, the grassy knoll out there above the one of the signs.
Right field?
Yeah, yes, right center field. And I told Bryon, I was like, dude, I want you right now, next time a runner gets on second base, I want you to go there, go right above that sign, get as close down to that picketed fence, above the wall. Lay down like you're going to sleep and just cock your head to the right. And you'll be looking right at the camera. Of course, he didn't do it.
Well, but that was going to help. That was going to help South Carolina win.
Yes, it would have. You got to change it up when things aren't going your way.
Right?
Yes. Then you got people calling in, dude. Who is that guy out there in right field looking like a weirdo out there?
Doesn't he own a business?
Yeah.
The beautiful mind of Trey Dyson.
This is why we beat people and dominated people like College of Charleston, because we weren't afraid to do stuff like
Bill's
this.
trying to take this in. How is this going to win? How are we going to win?
Do you remember when we played Georgia Tech in the Myrtle Beach Classic or whatever it was? We were nobody. This was 2000. We were still nobody. It's the beginning of the year. We get off the bus. It's like 9 a.m. And I start getting everyone and me. It's like me and Janowitz over there, and we're climbing up that big, huge light pole. When Georgia Tech's all walking all properly into the field, we're looking like complete idiots in the morning in this barren parking lot. And I've got everyone climbing up a light pole, and we're going crazy, psychotic.
And my question
like 3
is,
hours before a game.
What did your assistant coach Jim Tobin say about
They
that?
love that kind of. They're like, "What are y'all doing?"
I really, it's hard for me to envision Ray Tanner going, "Yeah, this is my ball team."
No, he walked onto the field.
Yeah, he got out of there.
But you got to get crazy like that. I mean, you got to always know that someone's coming for your job. And
Jim Tobin tweeting out last night, the College of Charleston baseball beat the mighty Gamecocks 9-0 to move to 34-16. Proud of guys for playing hard and having fun. Chad Holbrook coaching them up. Jeff sent us in that, I think it was a Twitter post from Jim Tobin. He wanted us to give our thoughts on that comment. What about when you see a former assistant like Jim Tobin, who's an integral part of Ray Tanner's success, there's no doubt about it, at the University of South Carolina, when he's in the other dugout as an assistant coach and they have that kind of success?
Look, I'm a big fan of Coach Tobin, and I get that. And part of why I enjoyed Coach Tobin as a player when he was our assistant coach and was that he made it fun, as Trey said. He was one of those guys. So I know that's what he was doing last night in that dugout. And I will tell you what Trey's saying. Him being in the dugout with Holbrook and that matchup is why Holbrook's able to relax. If you watched last night, somebody had a video posted where at the end of the game, Holbrook does a traditional tip of the hat.
He didn't want to do it.
He didn't want to do it. And so he's all serious, all business.
Well, he gave a couple of waves, right? He wanted to be understated.
Tobin comes up and
Rips
throws
it off.
the hat off and then throws it behind. He puts it on backwards. And so, again, that was the good for Coach Tobin. But last night in that situation where Sisk hits
LT
Tolbert.
Mm-hmm.
I was really upset with how Tolbert handled that situation. It really didn't make sense to me because when he's not trying to hit you, I mean, it's going to load the bases. He's not trying to do that. And I think and LT did that. I think in the Ole Miss series or some other series.
Well, Derek Scott on the call, he mentioned that that's a traditional reaction from LT Tolbert.
He does that all the time.
And so what I would tell you is that's not the reaction that you do to get your team back in it. It's the opposite. Right? It's like, you didn't hurt me. You run down to first, and you're like,
or you're fired up that you got on base, and here we go.
You know that he's the one that made that comment earlier this year,
right?
So
the comment you're referencing was that it had the previous coaching staff been in place, then they would not have been able to come back and win a game early.
That's right.
Right, and so I could see that. But and now I will say this for Tolbert, I like that he says stuff like that. At least he's not some boring cliche guy. It's just another game. No, it's a different game.
Who's the quarterback, that UCLA guy? He's the one
Josh
running
Rosen?
this. I mean, come on. Like, enough.
I mean, but at least LT Tolbert does that. Now, the way that he does the in-game stuff, I'm with you. But, dude, LT Tolbert's having a great year for South Carolina. And, hey, the more talk, the better for us on, us media type for an hour a week.
I'm shocked you guys see this differently, knowing your personalities.
I was just...
Did you notice you didn't make the all-time starting lineup for the Gamecocks that the NCAA put out recently?
Yes.
So Bryon noticed that. Trey is, what are you doing? You
wasn't
put your shades
expecting.
back on?
All I know is that I just need to thank Coach Tanner one second real quick for making me the designated hitter. It has brought me all kinds of undue glory. I made the all-decade team for South Carolina somehow because I was the designated hitter.
Okay.
The all-decade team, huh?
You
This
were
was
deserving.
like one decade, a couple decades ago.
And was it picked by your family or someone else?
No, it was someone called me and they told me. I was shocked.
Okay.
Sponsored by Jeffcoat and Jeffcoat Insurance.
But no,
There was a lot of write-in votes, and Trey's production seemingly dropped that month.
I got to tell
He's
you.
also the left fielder, the first baseman.
I got to tell you
pitcher.
this. We're in Birmingham at the SEC tournament, 2002. Steve Thomas, who came out of nowhere, I think he had like 20-something doubles, maybe set the school record for doubles in a year. And they just came up with the all-SEC team. They just announced it that day. He's all down and in the food court. And, I'm happy. I just made the all-SEC team as a DH, I'm pumped that he's mad.
get a t-shirt
He's not mad that he didn't make the team. He's mad that I made it, okay? That I made it over him.
Hater.
anyways, but
like he knew decades later it would be a story repeated or something.
Continuing to prove chemistry on a baseball team, wildly overrated.
Yeah.
Well, no, but to your point, Bill, that was our chemistry, and so he's over there acting like a baby. Do you think I just let him do that? And say, oh, I'm sorry, man. No, I'm like, dude, I can't help that I'm the DH. Like, suck it up.
Trey Dyson, all right? He's unpredictable. I told you, he's standing up now. If you were here, you'd say, why is he standing up?
Right.
We are here. We're still asking that.
That's true.
Well, I'm so excited.
Okay, so, going back to the NCAA pick, I did had some little challenge to that of who they selected. And part of it was, I was here, obviously, with Adam Everett and Drew Meyer. And so I would have gone with Drew Meyer in that.
Now, Bill and I did this a while back. We had our own teams, and we did it a little different way. Like I went with more of the guys who went on to the better pro careers. And if you do that, Adam Everett wins for sure, right? I've played in the big leagues for, I think, more than a decade. But I think Bill went with Drew Meyer because of just the specific college resume, I think. The one, if you're unfamiliar, you haven't seen it, NCAA.com is the place to go. 1 through 9 was interesting just to see the leadoff guy, first of all, that they went Mike Curry as an outfielder. I mean, he had a really good 3-year career from 96 to 98. The college numbers were really, really good. I think my leadoff guy was Bryon Roberts. I mean, we'll see what the guy was at Major League Baseball All-Star. He only played 1 year at Carolina, I understand. So that's why the criteria is different. It sounds like, Bryon, you would be more in line with Bill and going with the college career if you're going to do a all-time college team.
I want to say I took Curry. I know Mac White's on this list as well, and I remember there was some discussion about why are you taking that particular guy, and I can't remember if it was Curry or Mac White, but I might have taken Curry and Mac White with Jackie Bradley Jr.,
numbers,
I think.
Right.
Yeah.
And those are the 3 outfielders that NCAA.com picked as well. In order of lineup, they had Curry number 1, Jackie Bradley hitting 2-hole, Landon Powell hitting 3. I assume you guys are all down with that.
No, not in the 3-hole. Brutal pick.
Yeah. Well, so you'd put Smoke in the 3-hole?
Oh, Smoke. Or Steve
Wait,
Pierce.
all right, let's
Pierce
hold on. Let's because
Jackie. Jackie in the 9-hole.
I want to go back to this. This is kind of fascinating for baseball guys. Yeah. The difference between being the 3-hole hitter and the 4-hole hitter.
Oh, it's huge. 3-hole is the ultimate compliment, right?
Well, now it's the leadoff spot, in my opinion. But yes, typically the 3-hole hitter, King Griffey Jr.
Why? Chipper Jones,
Barry Bonds.
You are going to hit in the first inning, right?
Yep.
And you're going to ideally have 2 guys on base already. So you're going to get almost as many at-bats as you can get. And ideally you have guys on base so you can knock them in.
There's not a lot of big difference in 3 to 4.
So 3 and 4 hold the most esteem for you guys,
I feel like I've always heard the 3 is protected by the 4. Like if you're in the 3, you're being protected because the guy behind you is a better hitter.
Yeah.
Well, no. Typically, in baseball history, if you're in the 3-hole, you're the man. You're the best hitter on the team.
Oh, well, let's go back to this because last night I mentioned Justin Rose moved to what was it, 3 or 4 last night? 4. Can you and they get 1 hit? And I'm not saying that move in particular.
I need to go on this. I need to talk about this. Here's something that we need to get.
Okay.
Here's something that we got to get better at as an offense. Okay, and look, Coach. I was arguing with Todd Walker on Twitter by myself. Of course, Todd Walker wasn't arguing back.
So Todd Walker did the analysis of the game on Sunday in the Ole Miss series,
right? And he kept
a brutal analysis.
He made some good points throughout the game, but yeah, it was brutal. Bryon called him out, rightfully so. I mean, it was almost like, the past couple of weeks haven't happened. We have dominated people offensively in the SEC. South Carolina has. And you got to give, Coach Kingston a ton of credit. I sent out a tweet about we by far and away are the leaders in fly ball outs compared to ground ball outs. Okay, now what does that mean? Well, it means that our hitters are going up there not trying to be Punch and Judy's, but they're actually trying to drive balls. Okay, and with that, you're going to have your fair share of pop-ups, but you're also going to have your fair share of balls in the gap and home runs, which is what you're trying to do. That's how you score runs, okay? But when you get to a game like last night, and you've got this dude who's nasty, that's kind of unorthodox, you know that you've had some tough times and tough games this year where it feels like you can't get a hit. You got to slow things down offensively, take more pitches, try to get in 2-0, 2-1 counts instead of just going up there hacking, swinging at bad pitches. And one thing we do not do, we do not show bunt enough. Okay, I hate the sack bunt. I love the bunt for base hit, or at least the threat for a bunt for base hit. what's his name? Noah Campbell.
Mm-hmm. He's the only guy, right?
No, I don't ever see him doing that. I see him going up there hacking away. We got to be able to slow things down, show bunt, fake bunt, do a bunt for base hit every now and then for none other than trying to get into a better count, a better hitting count, especially against the guy that you can't hit like last night, but also to bring in those corner infielders to open up more room for you to get bunt base hits. That's something we do not do enough. I don't think so.
Very smart, even with the sunglasses. I like the take. Very good.
Just to finish up the all-time 9, if you guys had not heard about it, they got Brian Busher in the 5-hole playing third base for the Gamecocks after his 2-year career.
I would agree.
Yes.
Both of you guys, I thought, I was thinking back, I think I had Dave Hollins in there for my all-time guy just because of the career he went on to in the big leagues. At number 6, they have Adam Everett in the shortstop spot, Mac White hitting the 7-hole in the outfield. I'm surprised that Scott Wingo got the nod at second base in the 8-hole. And as the, as the 9-hole, they didn't do a DH, Trey. That's clearly why you were left off. But they had Earl Bass as the pitcher over Kip Balknight. They didn't even mention Michael Roth, which I find interesting for sure.
You look at the pitcher selection there, and what I forgot was, Earl Bass also had a 17-1 season.
Yep.
And so did Kip, but it was unbelievable with the statistics that he put up, and you go through everybody there and you see that.
This was back in the 70s, by the way. Carolina ended up national runner-up in 75.
I think the other thing that sometimes my difference also with it came back to the shortstop with Drew and Adam was using the -5 bat. Offensive statistics of those times were crazy. Just go look at LSU numbers.
Right.
And then, Drew obviously was, using a bat that, it got better as he played more, but that does make some difference in numbers.
And Drew also had 2 SEC championships, a runner-up finish in the College World Series, and he was a first-round pick.
And Monday he will be selected into the South Carolina Hall of Fame.
There you go.
And here's someone who got shafted on that. Marcus Macbeth was the best. Okay, maybe I'm wrong.
No,
Jackie Bradley Jr. should be in center field. I love Mac White, but no.
How about Mookie Blaylock not even in consideration here?
Mookie Blaylock, the point guard for the Hawks?
Mookie Wilson. I get my Mookies always confused.
wondering.
Wow, Tim made a mistake. We need a sound effect for that.
Let's see. I think I got one for that. You got me. There you go. Does that work?
All right, but I got to admit, when he said that, I was like, Mookie Blaylock. That name sounds familiar, but not for South Carolina baseball.
It was almost Pearl Jam, I think. That's what they almost named their band back in the day. I'll try to make up for my terrible errors, and I'll try to finish strong here as we wrap up our program this morning. The dramatic conclusion of the show.
Whit Merrifield. Come on, guys.
Good point. That's a good one.
There's a lot of good baseball players. It's kind of difficult.
Yeah, I like how you put all first basemen in there. Why didn't Steve Pierce play? Or Jerome Peters? Just have a lineup of first basemen.
Dude, how about Jerome? People know me more than Jerome Peters. That's. Thank you, Columbia.
There he is, Trey Dyson, ladies and gentlemen. He is one of a kind.
Good morning, Columbia.
It's the early game. It's 107.5 The Game. What we're taking away, Trey says, Carolina, one of their issues this year, not being able to play well as the favorite. Well, they'll be the favorite. They're not the underdogs this weekend with Missouri coming into town 9-15 and struggling at the bottom of the standings. Does this cause you some concern, Trey?
It does, because of that, the underdog thing.
Okay,
yes. So
sounds like then you might need to give this team a bit of a pep talk. Is that what you're saying?
I think when you Coach Staley come do it.
That would be a much better pep talk, I'm sure.
It's Missouri.
Yeah, seriously. Listen up, guys. Take it away, Bill.
That's how we're going to start the pep talk?
Yeah,
all right, it's a dual pep talk this week. It's a dual pep talk. It's Trey and I, and I'll start it. All right. In 3, 2, 1. Guys, take it one game at a time. When you go out there this week, give 110%.
Guys, listen, you just lost to College of Charleston. Big deal. Who cares? We've done worse. We lost to Presbyterian earlier. It's okay. We know that we're going to be okay. But now, listen, Missouri is good. They've called out our coach, our basketball coach, for making inappropriate. They've called out our fans, guys. Do not let them do that to us. Do not let them punk us like that. You better show up this weekend. Let them know that we don't stand for that kind of stuff. And we got to play ball, guys, okay?
One game at a time. Maximum effort. Focus only on tomorrow. Play to win the game.
It's throw the ball, catch the ball, hit the ball. Let's go, boys. And also, too, let's think about getting a new pitching machine after last night's offensive performance.
Want it more than Missouri. Show up with the look of a champion in your eye.
Fans, get out there, stop being wine and cheese, and get on the umpire. Get it. You've got to let the umpire know that everyone on Missouri's team has a dip in.
And tell them their swing does not translate to the professional leagues. It's a wooden bat league.
And that's one of the worst Pep Talks
Coach
I've ever
Kingston.
heard. That's it.
Go flex your
That's
biceps,
it.
baby.
Done.
Let's get them, boys.